Have you ever stopped to think about the hidden truths in seemingly trivial facts? Our daily lives are filled with details that go unnoticed, but when examined more deeply, they reveal an unsettling and surprising world. These are curiosities that many might have forgotten, but once discovered, they never leave your mind. Hello, restless minds. I'm Code, and this is Discover It, where curiosity knows no limits. Every time you like, comment, or share, you help spread these discoveries to more people. Together, we can create a community where curiosity has the power to change the world. What's frightening about the sun, the water we drink, or even the simple desk where we work? Are these discoveries mere curiosities or truths that show just how little we know about the world? Let's explore some of the most impressive and even disturbing curiosities that could change the way we see our everyday lives. Are you ready for these revelations? The sun, that immense sphere of plasma that lights up our days and sustains life on Earth, seems eternal. But is it really? Scientists have determined that the sun is in a midlife phase, and in approximately 5 billion years, it will meet its end. During that time, it will expand, engulf the closest planets, and then collapse, transforming into a white dwarf. But what if that collapse happened now? Now tell me, have you ever looked at the sky and thought that the sun might have an expiration date? It seems eternal, right? Well, it's not. Let's dive into this topic because we're about to talk about a true cosmic clock. If the sun exploded right now, we on Earth wouldn't know immediately. That's because the light and heat we receive from the sun take about 8 minutes to travel the 150 million kilometers, separating us from it. It's chilling to think that for 8 precious minutes, we'd live as usual, completely unaware that the primary energy source for our planet had already ceased to exist. Moreover, the absence of the sun would trigger a series of catastrophic events. Temperatures would drop drastically, oceans would begin to freeze, and photosynthesis, crucial for most life forms, would stop. It's intriguing to imagine how humanity, with all its technology, would face an event of such magnitude. Could we survive on a planet plunged into darkness and absolute cold? Thinking about the sun's end forces us to reflect on our vulnerability as a species and how much we depend on this star. Will humanity one day find a way to prepare for this inevitable event? Or are we destined to witness the extinction of life on Earth? Imagine the space where you spend much of your day. It seems clean, functional, and even comfortable, right? Now, visualize that space under a microscope. A simple piece of furniture, like an office desk, can be a veritable home to an unimaginable number of bacteria. Studies reveal it can harbor up to 400 times more bacteria than a common bathroom. Yes, you read that right. What makes desks so attractive to these microorganisms? The answer lies in our habits. In offices, it's common to eat while working, place items used throughout the day on desks, and of course, spend hours there without proper cleaning. Food crumbs, sweat from hands, and even droplets from sneezes create a perfect feast for bacteria. And there's more. Unlike bathrooms, which are usually cleaned more frequently, work desks rarely receive the same level of care. Among the unwanted inhabitants of desks, we can find microorganisms that cause anything from colds to more serious infections. Isn't that alarming? The fact that we touch contaminated objects daily and then bring our hands to our faces, contributing to the spread of diseases, should make us reconsider our cleaning habits. Is it time to give our work desks the same attention we give to bathrooms? Perhaps, instead of just organizing papers and pens, a regular cleaning routine should become a priority. After all, who would imagine that something so routine could hide such a concerning side? Candles are synonymous with coziness, romance, and tranquility. Who hasn't lit a scented candle to relax after a long day? But behind their harmless appearance lies a danger that few are aware of. In the United States alone, over 15,000 residential fires are caused by candles each year. A terrifying number, considering that a simple mistake can turn a small flame into a catastrophe. The problem begins with a false sense of security. Candles seem easy to control, but any distraction, like placing them near curtains or forgetting to extinguish them when leaving a room, can have serious consequences. In homes made of flammable materials such as wood or pressed cardboard, the fire spreads even faster. And the worst part, tragedies often occur at night while everyone is asleep. A candle flame, despite its small size, can reach high temperatures. When it comes into contact with nearby objects, it can ignite a fire within minutes. And it doesn't stop there. Low-quality candles release toxic particles into the air, which can harm health, especially for children, the elderly, and people with respiratory problems. So, how can we enjoy the charm of candles without putting our homes and lives at risk? The answer is simple. Always use proper holders, keep them away from flammable materials, and never leave a candle burning unattended. After all, what starts as a touch of comfort doesn't have to end in tragedy. For many, a sunny day by the lake is the perfect setting to relax and have fun. But what if I told you that some of these waters could hide a microscopic enemy capable of causing irreversible damage? Yes, you read that right. I'm talking about the brain-eating amoeba. It sounds like something out of a B horror movie, but it's real and lurking in those waters. Let's discover how to avoid this invisible threat. In lakes in the southern United States, a bacterium known as the brain-eating amoeba Naegleria fowleri has claimed fatal victims over the years. It sounds like something straight out of a horror film, but it's terrifyingly real. This microorganism lives in warm waters such as lakes, rivers, and even poorly maintained pools. The danger begins when the amoeba enters the body through the nose. Once inside, it travels straight to the brain, where it begins to destroy it aggressively. The initial symptoms can be mistaken for a common cold, but within days, they escalate to severe headaches, high fever, mental confusion, and in many cases, coma. The mortality rate is alarming. Over 97% of infections result in death. Although these cases are rare, the statistics don't lessen the severity of the problem. By 2018, more than 200 cases had been reported worldwide, but experts believe the actual number is higher. What makes this situation even more concerning is the difficulty of diagnosing the infection in time. After all, who would suspect something so dangerous while simply swimming in a lake? So, how can you protect yourself? The recommendation is simple. Avoid diving into warm waters of dubious origin, especially in areas known for amoeba cases. Additionally, protect your nose, whether by using nose clips or avoiding direct contact with the water. In a world where the enemy can be invisible, prevention is always the best path. The ocean has always been a source of mystery and fascination. But among the blue and tranquil waters dwell creatures as dangerous as they are intriguing. One of them is the irukandji, a species of jellyfish that, despite measuring only 1 centimeter, possesses a lethal power that defies logic. Don't be fooled by its size. This tiny predator is responsible for some of the most painful and deadly attacks in the animal kingdom. The irukandji is nearly invisible due to its translucent and minuscule body. It's easy to swim near it without noticing the imminent danger. However, just one contact is enough to feel the consequences. Its venom is a highly toxic mix that causes excruciating pain, extreme sweating, difficulty breathing, and even cardiac arrest. The poisoning, known as irukandji syndrome, can last hours or days, leaving the victim in a state of absolute suffering. What's even scarier is that these creatures inhabit shallow waters in various regions, including northern Australia and parts of Southeast Asia. Many beaches in these areas display warnings about jellyfish dangers, but not all swimmers pay attention. Survivors of irukandji attacks often describe the pain as unbearable, comparing it to being pierced by countless knives simultaneously. So, how can one stay safe? Paying attention to local warnings is the first step. In regions with a history of irukandji encounters, wearing protective swimwear could be the difference between a peaceful day at the beach and a traumatic experience. After all, in the vast marine world, even the smallest inhabitants can be the most dangerous. When we think of cockroaches, the reaction is almost always one of disgust and discomfort. These insects, which seem to be everywhere, possess impressive resilience. But what you might not know is that they can do something even more disturbing: feed on human flesh. That's right. These small survivors don't limit themselves to food scraps. In extreme situations, it has been documented that they can consume nails, dead skin, and even living tissue. This behavior usually occurs in unsanitary or abandoned places where cockroaches have little access to food. They are attracted to organic residues and moisture, which explains why areas around wounds or mucous membranes, such as the mouth and eyes, can become targets. Frightening as it sounds, there are recorded cases of people reporting being bitten by cockroaches while they slept. Beyond the physical impact, there's a psychological component that makes the idea even more repulsive. Imagine waking up to find one of these insects feeding on you. While rare, it's a reality that highlights the importance of maintaining a clean environment and avoiding conditions that foster infestations. Cockroaches not only transmit diseases like Salmonella and E. coli, but also explore boundaries we'd never imagine. Have we underestimated these small survivors? Perhaps it's time to see cockroaches not just as a domestic nuisance, but as a genuine threat to hygiene and well-being. After all, it's impossible to ignore their ability to adapt to almost any environment, including our bodies. Have you ever wondered what's really in the air you breathe? In crowded places like train stations or subways, the concentration of particles in the air is much higher than we imagine. But what many don't know is that a significant portion of those particles is, in fact, fragments of human skin. According to studies, up to 15% of the air in train stations may contain microscopic bits of skin. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? But science proves otherwise. This happens because our skin is constantly renewing itself. Every day, we shed millions of dead cells, which end up floating in the air around us. In enclosed spaces with poor air circulation, like public transportation hubs, this concentration accumulates even more. The result? We breathe in fragments of skin from thousands of people daily. Outside stations, the situation can be even more intense in densely populated areas. In large cities under a scorching sun, skin particles mix with pollutants, creating an invisible cloud that everyone inhales. It's uncomfortable to think about, but it makes sense when considering that each individual sheds about 500 million skin cells daily. Have you ever stopped to imagine how many of those cells might be in your next breath? Although this fact is somewhat unsettling, it reminds us of something fascinating. We are more connected than we realize, even on microscopic levels. Still, it's a good reason to value well-ventilated environments and pay attention to the air quality we breathe. After all, what's in the air is much more than just oxygen. When we think of something disgusting, urine is usually the first thing that comes to mind. After all, it's a bodily fluid associated with waste and toxins. But did you know that, in terms of bacteria, your saliva might be even more contaminated? It seems hard to believe, but scientific tests show that human saliva contains far more microorganisms than fresh urine. While 1 milliliter of urine contains about 100,000 bacteria, saliva can harbor up to 100 million per milliliter. Now, answer quickly. What do you think has more bacteria, saliva or urine? If you said urine, you're way off. Let me show you who really wins this microscopic duel. This is due to the vast number of bacteria that naturally inhabit the mouth as part of our oral microbiome. These bacteria are essential for digestion and even oral health, but also include species that can cause cavities, gingivitis, and other infections if not controlled. So, why do we feel more grossed out by urine? The answer might lie in social context and instincts. Urine is associated with waste and filth, while saliva is part of everyday interactions like talking, kissing, or eating. It's intriguing to think that something we use to show affection, like a kiss, can be a true exchange of bacterial colonies. This fact doesn't justify neglecting oral hygiene or general body care. On the contrary, it highlights the importance of simple habits like brushing your teeth, washing your hands, and drinking water regularly. After all, while saliva is essential, knowing what's in it might make us think twice before sharing a glass or giving an unintentional kiss. Using the bathroom is a simple and routine task, but do we pay attention to the details that truly matter? A seemingly harmless habit, like flushing the toilet with the lid up, can spread invisible particles of fecal coliforms through the air. Among these particles, one of the most dangerous carries the Streptococcus bacteria, which, when in contact with your toothbrush, can cause serious infections. Picture this. You flush the toilet without closing the lid, and an invisible cloud of particles rises, spreading throughout the bathroom. These particles can settle on objects like towels, soap, and of course, toothbrush bristles. It's disturbing to think that brushing your teeth might introduce potentially harmful bacteria directly into your mouth. The risks go beyond mere stomach discomfort. Infections caused by Streptococcus can be severe, affecting everything from the throat to internal organs, depending on the level of exposure. And the most concerning part? This type of contamination is entirely preventable with simple habit changes like closing the toilet lid before flushing. Have you ever stopped to think about how often we neglect this basic precaution? Small actions can make a big difference in our health. After all, is it worth exposing our bodies to unnecessary risks when the solution is within everyone's reach? If the answer is no, it might be time to turn the toilet lid into a true shield against these invisible threats. Did you know that over the course of a lifetime, we lose about 18 kilograms of skin? Yes, our skin, which protects us daily from external threats, is constantly renewing itself. This natural shedding process occurs so gradually that we rarely notice it, but it's essential for maintaining our health and well-being. What's curious is that even though it's so common, few people realize how significant this phenomenon really is. Each day, we lose about 500 million skin cells. These tiny particles mix into the environment, contributing to the dust that accumulates in our homes, workplaces, and even public spaces. What many don't know is that much of what we clean off our shelves and furniture isn't just ordinary dirt, it's literally pieces of ourselves. An intriguing thought, isn't it? Additionally, shedding plays an important role in protecting the body. The discarded skin is often loaded with microorganisms and dead cells that could become problematic if left too long. This mechanism is also crucial for new layers of healthy skin to emerge, keeping the barrier against infections active. What does this mean for our daily lives? This continuous renewal reinforces the importance of good personal hygiene and regular cleaning of the spaces we live in. After all, considering that invisible parts of our skin are constantly in the air around us, it makes sense to develop habits that keep both our bodies and our environments free from unnecessary buildup. A sneeze is something common, almost involuntary, but have you ever stopped to think about what happens when we try to hold it back? While many see it as polite or necessary, suppressing a sneeze can be extremely dangerous. This action can trigger a series of physical issues ranging from minor injuries to potentially fatal conditions. When you hold in a sneeze, the pressure that should be released through the nose and mouth is redirected inside the body. This force can damage blood vessels in the head, cause ruptures in the diaphragm, and even lead to microfractures in the ribs. Extreme cases have reported people suffering strokes from ruptured arteries in the brain due to blocking a sneeze. It's absurd to think something so simple could be so risky, but science leaves no doubt about the danger. Additionally, the compressed air from a suppressed sneeze can damage sensitive areas like the ears. There's a risk of rupturing the eardrum, resulting in intense pain and even temporary or permanent hearing loss. Apparently, trying to avoid noise or embarrassment can come at a high cost. So how can we handle this safely? The answer is simple. Never try to completely suppress a sneeze. Instead, cover your mouth and nose with a tissue or your arm, redirecting the particles away from others. After all, properly released, sneeze is far less harmful to you and those around you. Small adjustments can save lives, including your own. It might seem gross, but have you ever imagined how much mucus the human body produces daily? What many don't realize is that we unconsciously ingest about 2 full cups of mucus every day. This process, though unappealing, is essential to our body's functioning and, in a way, acts as a true natural defense line. Mucus is primarily produced by mucous membranes in the nose, throat, and lungs. Are you ready to discover an unexpected truth about your body? Mucus, yes, that thing no one wants to talk about, is actually a real protective shield. It may seem gross, but trust me, you'll respect your mucus after this. It functions as a protective barrier, trapping dust particles, bacteria, and other invaders before they can cause harm to our body. What we don't realize is that much of this mucus is swallowed unconsciously, transporting these contaminants to the stomach, where they're destroyed by gastric acids. Now let's reflect. If we ingest so much mucus, is it harmful? The answer is no. On the contrary, this process is part of a self-cleaning system that keeps us healthy. However, during allergies or infections, mucus production increases, causing discomfort and congestion. In these cases, excessive mucus can become a nuisance requiring medical attention. This fact leads us to an interesting conclusion. What we often dismiss as gross is actually one of the body's most important tools. So, the next time you think about mucus, remember that it's an invisible ally silently working to protect your health, even if you only notice its presence during colds or allergies. Sleep is synonymous with rest, but few know that our bodies remain active during the night, and that includes sweating. On average, a person sweats about 100 liters a year while sleeping. This impressive number makes us reflect on the impact our own bodies can have on the environment where we rest. Nighttime sweating isn't random. During sleep, our body regulates temperature, and sweat is an essential tool in this process. It helps dissipate accumulated heat, ensuring we stay within an ideal temperature range for rest. But sweat isn't just water. It contains minerals, fats, and other substances that over time can accumulate in mattresses, pillows, and bedding. Have you ever noticed a pillow gradually turning yellow over time? This is a direct result of sweat and other bodily secretions. Beyond the visual aspect, these residues can create the perfect environment for mites, fungi, and bacteria to thrive, which can harm respiratory health. Maintaining a regular cleaning and replacement routine for bedding is essential to ensure a healthier environment. Perhaps the most fascinating part is how this seemingly inconvenient process is actually vital to our bodies. Night sweats are proof that even in rest, our bodies continue working to protect and balance us. But to enjoy these benefits, wouldn't it be worth taking better care of the place where we spend about a third of our lives? Your cell phone is an indispensable companion, but did you know it constantly emits a form of radiation? While the radio frequency radiation emitted by phones is considered low intensity, there are still debates about its long-term health impacts. Your phone is like that friend you love, but who might cause you trouble. It's there emitting radiation all the time, and we don't even think about it. But don't worry, you can keep it by your side. You just need to make some smart adjustments. What makes this concerning is the frequent contact we have with these devices, especially when we keep them close to our bodies, such as in pockets or next to our heads during calls. Some studies suggest that prolonged exposure may be associated with a slightly increased risk of developing brain tumors, though the research is not yet conclusive. There's also concern about its impact on sleep. The blue light and electromagnetic waves emitted by phones can interfere with circadian rhythms, making it harder to get proper rest. Who hasn't lost sleep scrolling through news feeds or watching videos late at night? Are we neglecting the potential effects of our devices? To minimize risks, experts recommend using headphones during calls, keeping the phone away while sleeping, and limiting unnecessary usage. After all, Technology is an incredible tool, but that doesn't mean we should ignore its potential silent impacts. The world around us is full of details and curiosities that often go unnoticed. From invisible dangers in everyday environments like office desks and toothbrushes to microscopic threats hidden in the water and air we breathe, each fact makes us reflect on how small details can have significant implications. While some of these discoveries might seem frightening, they also reveal the complexity and interconnectedness of the world we live in. If you enjoyed this journey of discoveries, don't forget to leave a like, share with your friends, and comment below on what caught your attention most. Maybe others will relate, and together we can spark a great conversation. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more content where curiosity knows no limits.